The Artist Wilderness Connection is an artist residency provided by the Hockaday Museum of Art, Bob Marshall Wilderness Foundation, the Flathead National Forest, and Swan Valley Connections. They've all teamed up together to provide an artist residency for anybody, any art form really, who wants to apply. They offer a number of their Forest Service cabins in the Bob Marshall Wilderness to an artist for 1 to 2 weeks.
The whole purpose is to help other people understand what the wilderness is capable of, because art's a form of communication, and they figured that what we do can help inspire other people. It can communicate something that maybe just words won't do. That this was something that people need to do more often.
So in high school, I had an incredible teacher, Susan Guthrie, who was so inspiring and so, she just saw your passion and really pushed you in that way.
Her influence on keeping me focused and believing in myself was just a big part of it. Just being the role model that says you can do this was huge. I was pretty much the only reason I could do that was because of her.
Plein air painting is a very vital part of my creative process as a painter. We'll go up to Glacier or go into the Bob Marshall and hike and carry our full palettes with us and paint in a lake or up on a cliffside or in an outhouse.
Plein air painting is important to me because it can really connect me to the landscape in a way that a photograph won't be able to, because I get to feel and see everything so immediately. When you're forced to make quick decisions, you're forced to be really present. And a lot of painting is considered to be really thoughtful, slow, and when you're out there and the storm's coming in or the sun's setting, you cannot be slow. You can't.
This was the longest time I've ever spent in the backcountry and out of civilization in my whole life. I've done a lot of 2-3 day backpack trips into the Bob, and that's even enough time to get out of civilization and get into being in the wilderness. So 10 days was a very significant amount of time.
Now the cabin's great. Getting up there was a fun little chore, and as soon as we walked up, I noticed one whole side of it facing the trail had these large slash marks in it that looked pretty bear-like.
It's just one room, has a gas cook stove and a table. It had a fridge, but it wasn't functioning, I don't think. But yeah, you don't have all those amenities that you have in your own house, which after you get used to that, you realize how little you actually need. There's no toilet inside the cabin, so there is an outhouse, luckily. It's about 50 yards or 100 yards from the cabin, down the little trail into the woods a little bit. You kind of grow to love the outhouse. It's a simpler way of life.
You're faced with 10 days of no one telling you what to do, which was a pretty wonderful scenario anyway, and I'll admit the first couple of days we're just relishing that. The day excursions were kind of the big plans. This is where it started to make sense we had a purpose to be there.
We had to check in on the radio. We're going to hike up to Castle Lake. We'll be there overnight. Check in tomorrow.
Backpacks were loaded, gears all set up. This is where we're making something happen. Walking over the hill, once you're finally getting up to the lake, cresting that hill and seeing so many flowers and a beautiful lake with mountains on the sides rising up, just absolutely gorgeous. That was something that I'll always remember, that excitement as a painter. You feel that when you go to this place that gives you everything you need. My love for these studies is that they really hold that vitality that is that moment. There's no other time that's going to be just like that. And even your mental state will only be like that for that time. So you're stuck with these things that are far beyond a picture.
Something about capturing what you see in front of you and taking pigments, stuff from tubes, and mixing it with these brushes made of animal hair and then putting it onto a surface. It's completely ridiculous. But when you can do that and it looks like what you're looking at, it's pretty incredible.
The cool thing was we were painting so much that it didn't seem like every one painting meant a whole lot, that you were able to okay, if I lost that one, I might have won or lost the battle, but I'll win the war. And there was one point where Richie had lost the battle. And as we head back into the cabin, all I hear is this grumbling and bemoaning and then a chopping, and it was the poor painting met its untimely end.
It was beautiful while we were painting, and then on the hike out the next day, it just started dumping rain on us, and you're walking through brush that's up to your chest, and it's covering the entire trail, and so you are soaked within seconds all the way into your socks and your boots. And at that point, you just kind of stop caring about just being uncomfortable. And as we were walking down, there was just copious amounts of huckleberries. I've never, ever seen this many huckleberries. Picked huckleberries for, I don't know, maybe a half hour to an hour total throughout the trip back down while it was pouring rain, and just couldn't get enough of it. I think good things are just hard. You have to work for them. And, as lazy as we can be, just to realize that those good things there's a challenge to them. And there's so much merit within that. When I remembered back at it and we started looking at some of the video footage we took, it was just like so exciting, and I just wanted to be there again so bad. And I realized that looking back from a few months later, this trip really fulfilled just dreams I've had since I was a kid of being an artist. That's pretty special for me.
I feel so grateful for the whole experience, that it really isn't something that most people get to do, which in a lot of ways is a shame because it's way more easy and tangible than people think it is. But just to be out in the woods for 10 days is something that anybody can do, even for 2 days, a day. But there's something about being in the woods with nothing that was just as freeing and just as exhilarating and just as rewarding than having all the nice things you can imagine.